Welcome, you are with Dr. Sushma Singh. Today in Unit 14, Ethno Development. Let us start the topic Emergence of Alternative Approaches. In the course of development of developmental theory, the mainstream development theories such as growth-oriented theories and others have been severely criticized. Gradually, alternative development theories have emerged to avoid the weaknesses of the earlier theories. The alternative approaches and their methodologies have emerged as development paradigm, indicating a theoretical break from the mainstream development approaches. Some of the alternative theories are concerned with local development. Dependency theory, one of the alternative to the mainstream development theories, is concerned with structural macroeconomic changes in the non-Western societies in the line of Western societies. There is another alternative development approach that emphasizes the capacity of people to bring about the change with development. This development approach depends on different means: participatory action and people-centered development. It does not depend on the other societies or countries for its own development. Now let us start alternative development. Since 1970, towards alternative development approaches have emerged as people-centered development. This development is geared to the satisfaction of needs of the people for whom development is directed. The alternative development is also known as the endogenous development. This approach has its own distinct method associated with it. Usually, participatory method is also used for such approach. The participatory method initiates development process within the community and take into consideration the basic needs of the people for their development. The alternative developments are different from the earlier development approaches in respect of their methodology. A participatory, endogenous, self-sufficient and objectives-oriented. Therefore, development here must be undertaken from within the people and geared to their basic needs. Hackney believes that these are mainstream approaches. He puts least emphasis on the idea of demodernization and anti-development theories. In course of the development of developmental theories, the alternative development approaches have been institutionalized as part of mainstream development. The alternative development is accepted as progressive but non-radical. It does not embrace any clear ideology, and this could be absorbed by the mainstream development ideology. Hackney presents another development which is combination of the basic needs, self-reliance, sustainable and endogenous development. But this could not be developed as a paradigm or alternative model. Today, there is not much differences between the approaches of alternative development and mainstream development. The components of alternative development approach like participation and sustainability have been adopted by the mainstream development. There is no difference in principles. Gradually, this approach has become popular as mainstream alternative development (MAD). Now let us start the next topic, endogenous development approach. The idea of endogenous development has emerged from the approach of the alternative development. It is more specific to one's own culture in respect of its own development. The term, as it suggests, indicates the development from within the culture. It takes impetus from its own foundation of culture and gears the process of development. The notion of the endogenous takes into consideration social, cultural, and symbolic aspects of the society. When we call endogenous development, we think it is opposite to the idea of mainstream development, which emphasizes development through the process of change, that means through the process of modernization, that is, development of a society following the cultural characteristics of the Western societies. It is a process which can be called as westernization, but endogenous development means shaking off all the traditional and existing custom, values, and beliefs of the society, which intends to develop its self confidence. When goals and values are generated from within the culture, it also generates self confidence. Here it is believed that modernity is generated from within own culture. Therefore, modernization is not a thing to be borrowed from the West. There is no need to believe in modernization of tradition. Any society can develop of its own. It can develop itself without the help of others' path of development. Rahman mentions development is endogenous. There are no front runners to be followed. If a society tries to modernize itself by following models of any Western country, it will lead to the destruction of its own culture by inviting Western cultural element in its own culture, which may not be adjustable to the existing situation. There will be destruction of its own social values, morals, and beliefs. Tradition always resists any change towards the modernization in the form of the Western model. Therefore, there may be conflict between tradition and modernity, leading to unstable traditional cultural situation in a society. But modernization from within means innovation of new elements from within the society and adaptation to these new elements. Tradition is also considered as sources of innovation, change, development, and modernization. It is seen that the endogenous idea of development is the foundation of the alternative development approach. But there are some problems to discern what is endogenous and what is exogenous element in a culture. There may not always any distinct boundaries between the endogenous and exogenous elements in a culture and development thinking. There is also a problem with the regard to the unit of development in the endogenous concept. In the conventional ideas, society is used as a unit of development or a state or a nation. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.